Today we're going to review Sonic Frontiers, and I'm going to tell you something you probably haven't heard yet, but this game is incredible, but it starts off terrible. And I know my last review that you guys saw was probably me supporting a game that everyone else hated. And I feel like there's something wrong here. I feel like I'm making a mistake, but I can't tell you anything more than my actual experience with the game. So, to maybe soften that blow and explain to you why this game is incredible, I have to tell you what was wrong with it and what my exact experience was as I played it. So my immediate first impression with the game was that everything felt disjointed. There was a lack of cohesion that I'm surprised the Sonic team hasn't figured out by now, because frankly, a lot of the struggling or more difficult to love Sonic games always had the same kind of feeling where the cutscenes didn't feel cohesive, the story wasn't very good, the action was often broken up with a lot of annoyances and tool tips and whatnot. And this game has all of those, and I hated it when I was playing it. I constantly felt like the game was trying to tutorialize me to death. I felt like the game was constantly talking to me too much. It was really, really annoying. Like every single time something happened, the game stopped to go, hey, this is happening, and gave you a giant 3-paragraph written article about what just happened. And what just happened was it was like, yo, press B to jump. But it was more complicated than that. And I'm sitting here going, why haven't they learned from this? This game looks so good. It's so beautiful. And yet it seems like it's trying to be something it's not. It's trying to be an open world game, akin more to Breath of the Wild. And I feel like they took a lot of elements from that game, but didn't know how to put them together properly. I feel like sometimes the game would be going, and then would get stopped to explain things to me again, or stopping gameplay to watch a scene from a movie, and I'm like, okay, what? Or I'm being sent on these random missions with Amy, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. There's a world to save right now, but then also a side plot featuring Eggman, which doesn't feel even part of the whole overall story, and honestly, it just feels like they threw a bunch of pieces into this game that didn't belong together. And I really struggled to enjoy it. And this is going to be maybe a trend with me. That is until I decided to go into the menu in the game, in the settings, and change a couple things. Because after I got, maybe an hour into the game, I realized that all these constant notifications that were pissing me off can be cut off. And so when I cut off the notifications, I was less annoyed. I was actually able to focus more on the actual game. You can also fix things like Sonic feeling fairly slow and sluggish through building up his speed throughout the game. It's a mechanic in the game. You can also change it in the settings as well. I pushed that all the way up. And then suddenly Sonic and his boost ability felt a little bit more natural. Now don't get me wrong. I did feel like I was missing things like the ring tracking. So in previous games, like I believe in the Sonic Adventure series, you can use a boost that will track rings, and you can move faster. You see 2 rings, you want to jump right in front of them and go right in front. And that feels really satisfying. But in this game, that doesn't happen, and I have to get used to that. It just is what it is. There's no official spin dash, but you can punch and kick. I do miss the spin dash, but the boost does make up for that to some degree, right? And so as I play through the game, I'm like, yo, maybe I'm being too harsh on this thing, right? But no, I'm not, because literally for the first 3 hours, I'm running around the map trying to figure out what to do. I'm running around the map trying to figure out what my objective is, and I'm not really sure. And often the game doesn't really explain things to you, while it also over-explains to you. Like, it's kind of crazy to me. Like, there are parts in the game where they literally go out of their way to tell you the smallest detail, and then just leave other things up to interpretation. And I'm like, what? Pick a lane, y'all. Pick a freaking lane. Again, I just feel like the game is just trying to frustrate me on purpose, And I'm like sitting here going, am I going to keep playing this game? I think I'm going to quit. I think I'm going to go ahead, make this review, and tell people how awful it is. But then I also go, I got to dig a little bit deeper. Can't be lazy. So in Sonic Frontiers, they have a skill tree that gives Sonic other abilities. He gets his Cyclops ability pretty quickly, which we've all used to draw dicks. And straight up, it's actually a pretty cool mechanic. I just wish that there was more variety in the battles. I don't feel like there's enough enemies going around on this map. And I also hate that I have to unlock the map as well. If I had the map fully open to me, I think the game would feel a lot more easy to track or to get to things, because otherwise I'm like just kind of waiting for things to happen, and honestly a lot of the things that do happen are all random as hell. Like when I say random, I mean like you can get the things you need to progress in the game sometimes by running in a circle using the Cyclops ability, and they'll just appear. And I'm like, what? Okay, cool. So I don't have to do anything. I just run in a circle and get some of the elements. Okay. And then also, like, speaking of random things, Big the Cat is here, which doesn't even make sense with the story. I don't even know how that even happened or how that occurred. It doesn't fit with anything. But guess what? You can go fishing. And while fishing, you can get things you need to progress in the game. And I guess I'm going to do that now, is what I decided. So I did some fishing, and that was actually kind of fun, but also way too easy. And again, it just feels like they didn't really choose to challenge the player, because these enemies are also way too easy to beat, or these enemies are not showing up enough for me to really feel like they belong in this game, because they don't really look like they're part of the Sonic aesthetic, which I was happy to see something be done differently than just Eggman bots. But these enemies, there's like, 3 or 4 of them, and you just keep fighting the same ones over and over again. And you're like, okay, cool, I already did this. And even the really big ones that you think is gonna you're gonna get a big reward for beating, I'll call them sub bosses. You don't. Like there's just one on here, I'll get the name of it right now, but you basically have to ride on its tail and you chase it down this gigantic path. You have to do all this dodging, do all this stuff, and you defeat it, and all you get is a freaking gear. I'm like, I did all that work, I chased down this just giant thing that's already almost impossible to beat, and all I get is a gear? It just felt like the enemies here were an afterthought, and there was a lack of variety. And even when you did have ones that were more, a little more different, there's just not enough of them populating in the game. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just have to run around till I find some more randomness, and that's what I did. Also, one thing, so a nitpick for me is someone who's playing on the PS5, the icon to track your flight, or rather, if you see a path in front of you, you want to just boost to it, your boost, is a triangle emblem, and I keep wanting to hit triangle, and that screwed me up a couple of times in the game. It's not anyone's fault, but I think if you're playing it on a PS5, just remember, you do not hit triangle, you hit square, and you'll be okay. But it just frustrated me that even the developers didn't think, hey, maybe we're on a different system, let's maybe program this differently. And it feels like this game, in my opinion, is trying to do way too much. There's like a bajillion things to do in the game, but none of it even really connects to each other. It really even makes a whole lot of sense. And I was ready to, again, give this game a pretty low review and just tell you don't worry about it, don't play it. The RPG elements and the boosting and whatnot is all kind of cool. Attacking feels really satisfying. The sound that Sonic makes when he destroys an enemy is a good pop. It feels really good, And I did say for a few times, once I started getting down to boostability and I powered Sonic up a little bit more, running through the terrain felt really natural and fun. And I even was okay with Sonic's base level being kind of slow. I was okay with that. I was like, you know what? This makes sense. He shouldn't be running so fast I can't control anything. And that's the thing I was gonna bring up and say as good is that, frankly, Sonic feels really smooth in this game. Like running and darting and dodging all feels really natural. And I actually love to just run through the terrain. It's I'll say almost a opposite experience that you have in this game than you have with Ocarina of Time, because I want to just go around and float and drop down on things. But in this game, I just want to run and just go as fast as I can possible, make it to my objective, and do the next thing. In this game, you're in an open world, but you also have these sub games you can play that are reminiscent of previous Sonic entries, mostly the 2D games from back in the 16-bit era, which are actually pretty fun and pretty cool, but almost too easy to finish. Lack of enemies, lack of variety in what you're actually doing when you're going through the levels. But I will say I had a good time with that part of the game. The first one actually is pretty, similar to a Sonic Adventure game, but not anywhere near as cool or great. The music isn't anything like jarring. Like it's not gonna be stuck in your head forever, but it is a good song that they play in that first entry. But they also do this annoying thing in that same exact entry where they mute the sound because you're running so fast, and it takes away from the song and the actual experience of running through the terrain. And I go, okay, I get where you're going for here. He's going at Sonic speeds, but it just doesn't feel very good to have the music just drop at these pivotal moments. But that's just me, maybe being picky, but I didn't dig that at all, right? And so with all that to say, I think I'm complaining a lot. But actually, when I got done with the Amy level, the Coco, I guess they call Cocos, whatever that island is, the first island you're on, once you finish that, actually, the game randomly gets really good, and that's really the crux of this whole review, is it really does random as hell gets really good. And I know that you may not trust me, you may not know me, but I'm telling you right now, a lot of these things I just complained about are randomly fixed when you enter the second part of the game. Like, and there's like, what, I think 4 parts of this game. When I got to part 2, the running felt more natural. There was more to do. The map unveiled itself a lot quicker. The enemies were more varied. I didn't think I was just fighting the same things over and over again. And they were also not that easy to defeat. You can't just knock them out in one hit anymore. You have to use a little bit of variety of your different moves that you picked up. And that made it actually a more fun combat to actually, partake in. And like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm talking about. This is good, right? And then, the storyline with Knuckles actually feels a little bit more satisfying than the storyline with Amy. I don't feel like I'm just kind of wasting time trying to help random kids when the world's on fire. This actually feels like something I want to be doing. And so I actually am now locked into the game. And I'm not trying to justify my purchase, okay? I'm not. This game is not a $70 game. I'm just telling you right now that this second part of the game actually felt like it addressed a lot of the issues I had with the cohesiveness and the pacing and the battles and the game just feeling like very tacked on. This actually now starts to make a little bit more sense, and the game itself starts to feel like it's even more fun and rewarding. And so now I'm curious to see what the other 2 parts of the game are like, and I am curious to see what happens as I progress. Like, I actually like to now go and explore through these terrains, get on the rails, use little bouncy pads and do all the stuff and get to these different parts of the map and see what's really going on. It is still frustrating that the map isn't fully revealed to me. I have to do that little by little, and I have to now collect the Chaos Emeralds again, but I'm kind of okay with that because it's actually becoming a lot of fun. And the thing is, I really do wish that the, I guess, level 2, we'll call it, second part of this game. I don't know how you want to characterize it, but like I wish that the second part was the first part of the game, and they just refined the first part of the game, because this second part is drawing me in and making me actually excited and fun to play this game, and happy to say I can recommend it. But, and there's a big but here, you gotta play, I don't know, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours of the game until it gets to that point. And that feels like way too long, way too much time to be spending to get to a part of the game that is actually satisfying and doesn't feel flawed. When I fought the Titan, which is like your first real major boss, I'm like, okay, I felt like it was going to be the last boss, because it was actually a pretty challenging battle. And also actually really fun to also partake in. I'm like, okay, where was this at the whole time? But then it's actually, spelled out to you that, hey, there are multiple Titans, and there's more to this. And guess what? The story isn't disjointed. It just feels that way. And you got the emo girl showing up, or showing up in a higher capacity, and you now realize, why she belongs in this game and where she even came from. And now it's starting to connect. And now I feel like at some point I have to go back and revisit the other island, because there was a one terrain I could not figure out how to get to. And I'm like, yo, what the heck? How do you get here? And I'm realizing you can't get there till you beat the game. Probably have to go back and revisit. And that gives the game a higher replayability rather. And now I'm like, I don't know how to feel. This game just messed with my emotions. You know, it's what people are calling now a love bomb, where someone's like, yeah, I love you, I love you, I love you, and they give you all the stuff you want, then they take it away. They did that in reverse in this game. They made me hate it, and they start giving me everything that I wanted. And I'm like, don't take this away. Because I would love to sit here and tell you that Sonic Frontiers is a AAA title, is one of the best Sonic games I've played in years, and I'd love to tell you that it is 110% worth your time, but I cannot do that, people. I cannot do that. I'm not trying to justify my purchase. Let me say it again, but the people in the back, not trying to justify my purchase. But I am saying that now that I've been playing the game long enough to justify what I'm about to tell you, I can say wholeheartedly, this is a game that is fun. It is worth your time, but you gotta grind to get there, and I'm not sure that a lot of people are gonna be willing to do that. I'm not sure you're willing to really do the work it takes to actually enjoy this game, because I'm telling you, once again, to repeat myself, the second part of this game, level 2, is way better than level 1, like way, way, way better. It feels like the game it should have been in the first place. It feels like the game that we're seeing in the, you know, the trailers, you know, the game they teased. There is more to this game than meets the eye, and if you are willing to put in the work, you will be rewarded, and you will have a good time. The story is not great. I'll just stand on that. It's not great. But running feels really good, exploring feels really good, battling feels really good, and ultimately I had fun with this game. I'm not even done with it yet. I'm excited to see what comes next. I'm excited to skip some of these cutscenes. I can't wait. Like, skip, hold that button down. Skippity, skippity, skip. But yeah, guys, that's really my ultimate thought is Sonic Frontiers is slightly disappointing, but then it sticks to landing somehow and really does show up in the second half of the game. I won't say second half, but just second part of the game, you know? I was trying to use a sports analogy, and I'm not good or don't care about sports, so pardon me there. But really, I do recommend this game. I'm surprised to say that, because honestly, when I was writing this review, when I was like getting my first impressions down, I couldn't have told you that. I wouldn't have told you that. I don't want to tell you that, but when I hit that let's call it the Knuckles arc, of the game, I really did feel like it was worth my time to play, and I can say the same for you. I will tell you to please give Sonic Frontiers a chance. If you can, again, do not buy it digitally because you can't return digital games. Rent it from somewhere, get it from Amazon, get it from Target, somewhere physical, maybe even pick up the Switch version. I got the PS5 version. I think it might be cheaper, but don't play yourself and get a version that you can't return, because you will be frustrated at first, and you will ask yourself, why did I listen to that guy? What is Chris even thinking? If you are only going off the first part of the game. But once you get to that second part, I want to hear your opinion. So let me know. I just want to ask this question that I have to ask. Have any of you guys played the game yet? How do you feel about it? Did you have my same experience? Did you enjoy the game once you got to a certain part of it? Or did you just hate it all the way through? Again, there's a lot of things here to be frustrated about. It's not consistent in anything at first, and then it becomes consistent. Like it's even one thing I'll bring up before I drop the review. But like being able to climb was so inconsistent, it pissed me off. Because sometimes you climb on rocks, other times you can't climb on rocks. So I don't know when I can climb and when I can't climb, and that is hard. That is confusing, and that to me is kind of stupid. Like either I can climb or I can't. Like, I get it, there can be a slippery part to stop you from getting to the top of where they didn't develop anything, but then there's just parts where, like, you slide down a mountain that you probably should be able to climb up. Because if you can climb sometimes, you should be able to climb all the time. It just does not make a whole lot of sense, but I just kind of gave up. But then when I get to the second part of the game, that's fixed. They just fixed it. Like in this other part of the game, you can climb up almost everything, or boost up everything, and it's fine. And I'm like, why wasn't this in the first part of the game? What? What are you doing? Sonic Team? But yeah, again, just to wrap it up, I recommend the game, but it's going to test your patience. I don't know if you have it in you. But let me know your experience. I really want to hear about this one because this one got me in a different way than Bayonetta or even, Gotham Knights. It got me very differently. And I'm just surprised, frankly. So, love to hear your opinions. Let's talk about it down below. My name is Chris. Thanks. And I'll see you next time. Peace.